Hello and welcome to QInsight, brought to you by QGate, the podcast where honest conversations meet business transformation. I'm Steve Clarke.
And I'm Alastair, Jupp. In each episode, we explore how the rapidly changing world of business technologies like CRM and AI is impacting how we operate. In our first episode, we'll be dispelling the myths around CRM and what it means for your business.
Exactly right. So, Ali, you and I both work for a CRM business, a CRM services business, and we are exposed to the technology and the terminology and people's different perceptions on a daily basis. One thing that you and I speak about often is actually that perception of CRM, and often how it is quite wide of the mark in terms of where CRM is today. So fill us in. Where do you think people are getting these perceptions from, and actually what is CRM in 2025?
Personally, I find it really frustrating with people's view of CRM that it is like a Rolodex, right? And that's what it used to be. For me, CRMs are becoming more invisible nowadays. You know, they're embedded in Teams, in WhatsApp, and email. You almost forget you're using one sometimes. Well, certainly that's where we're heading. It's not just somewhere you dump contacts in and pull reports out. And yes, it feels, if you did do that, it does feel like an expensive Excel sheet. You know, that's not what CRMs are. Particularly when I speak to my wife, right? I tell her I do CRM. She doesn't see CRM the same way I see CRM. And I think that's common around a lot of people that we engage with. For me, it's central to a business. It's a business strategy. It's not just a piece of technology.
So with AI being so prominent in the market, and actually just not in the business world, in everyone's day-to-day life as well, I see more and more, and I have more and more conversations in and out of work about AI and how it can be used. And the common theme across LinkedIn and other business platforms in having these conversations is, if you're not using AI or AI isn't a part of your business, then you're lagging behind and you're failing. Now, again, the common theme is everyone wants AI. They just don't know what it's capable of. They don't know what it is. For me, the importance of data being in an accessible state for these AI platforms, certainly in a business environment, is paramount. And when you say CRM is perceived as perhaps just this contact database, in actual fact, it's the entry point of data, contact information, sales data into the CRM, into your environment itself. So it needs to be in a usable state when it gets there for AI to actually leverage it to make sense of it. It's the old adage, you put rubbish in and rubbish out. So when we start thinking about CRM as a data platform, then actually I think it brings it much more into the fore of where it is today, as opposed to where it was viewed at maybe 10, 15 years ago. So why do you think that's the misconception? I mean, we're all inundated with LinkedIn posts and the state of the world and technology today. Why do you think CRM lags behind all of these other advances in how it's perceived?
It's a good question. Yeah, let's do some facts, right? I think there's a number out there that 40% of all CRM projects fail to deliver what was expected in terms of ROI. In the main, user adoption is probably the number one reason CRM projects fail, not technology, and that kind of resonates with why people have why this perception exists of CRM, right? When people try and engage with this platform, they're already resistant to it before they even enter into the platform. They have this preconceived opinion, and if the implementation is not done properly, that just reinforces what they're already thinking. For me, I think there's kind of three sides to the fence, if you like. I know the terminology is two sides, but there's those that have a really negative opinion of CRM. It's just a glorified Rolodex. Then there's those that are very positive about CRM and they think it's going to correct every single thing in their business and make everything right. They bought into the marketing. And then the third one is there's those on modern, no, I'm just trying to think out of position. They're not knowing how to release the power of their CRM. They're already using CRM, but they're not knowing how to release that power of the CRM. And those are the three parts for me. And I do think this preconceived idea of what CRM is what's causing that negative perception of CRM. And most platforms do the same thing, but the process, the buy-in, the culture, that's where CRMs excel, right? And that's nothing to do with the technology. That's to do with your business and how your business operates. The number one thing you can do is deliver user value. If you get that, you show value to those users, they will buy into your CRM.
Absolutely. And we'll try and keep this kind of vendor agnostic or technology agnostic, but CRM, where it was just about sales historically, has now grown to encompass things like customer service, field sales, marketing. So even that kind of sales process, and actually what we do as a business at QGate is, as hopefully is it comes across, is not necessarily CRM. And yes, we do CRM, but what we strive for is sales excellence. And the constant across all of our implementations and all of our customers is that they sell. And yes, I know most businesses sell, but it is that sales process that we actually look at. And we utilize CRM as a facilitator. And we actually actively, and again, as you know, we actively try not to describe ourselves as a CRM company. We do it, but we are a business transformation, a sales excellence transformation organization. And going back to my point about CRM growing outside of just the sales space to cover marketing, customer service, field sales, actually now when we go into 2025 and utilizing AI, business information. So the analytics power of these CRMs and surfacing the information that's inherently in there around estimated close dates, estimated revenues, that for a long period of time has been there. And now, because AI is so prominent in everything that we do, I will use Microsoft as an example. They are putting all of their eggs into that AI basket, and that is then going into the CRM omelette, for want of a better expression. And it's really exciting because the reason I do my job is I love CRM, and that's a weird thing to say. Not many people will kind
Not
of.
many salespeople say that.
No, exactly that. And my background, I had a sales team of over 100 people, and we managed everything on spreadsheets. So site visits, opportunities, leads, callbacks, everything on a spreadsheet. And I couldn't tell you how many rows long the spreadsheet was, but it had every different color under the sun, denoting different statuses and different types of prospect and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, we put in this. I put in a CRM, and it changed my life overnight. And I know that sounds dramatic, but if you've ever been
Very.
in, yeah, if you've ever been in a scenario where you kind of go to sleep thinking about, and I'm sure most people do, you go to sleep thinking about the next day at work and what you've got going on. You dread opening up the spreadsheet that actually had been emailed around 6 people last night and had so many different changes. So flip knows what was the source of the actual source of truth. But when this CRM came in, it changed it. And we are talking 15 years ago, that was the case. And the CRM landscape has changed a lot since then. And going back to the point now about AI really propelling it, it has made so many changes over that kind of 15-year period. That I've been using it at least, but now when AI is being introduced to it, wow, it's certainly not just that Rolodex anymore. It absolutely is that central data business hub that everything kind of stems henceforth from. So what and I probably just kind of answered the question for you, but where do you see CRM going? Because it could go in so many different tangents around what it is. Will it even exist in 5 years? Because data as a whole, everything kind of is being unified in these mesh systems and fabric systems, and who knows what else is out there. So where do you see CRM now, and where do you see it going?
For me, CRM is in its current guise, with its forms and its dashboards and its reports, all fixed and all there, and you have to log in and navigate to them. Yeah, personally, I think that's all going to disappear. Those types of human interactions with a form are going to go, and I think we're just going to have one prompt box. And actually, I don't think it's going to be restricted to just CRM. I think it's going to expand out to ERP, finance system, and the only delta is going to be the user. The user sat there looking at a prompt box, and the different roles within the business are just going to be putting different prompts into that same box. And sitting in the background is what we've got at the moment, right? Is these tables, these data sets, all structured in an effective way to then answer the questions to be answered. So, you know, as an example, as a salesperson, I might go into the system and say, "Show me all my leads from yesterday," rather than opening up and navigating to, "Here's all my leads," you know, view with leads from yesterday coming. Show me all quotes that I've done this week. Oh, can you open up this quote for this? You know, these are the type. This is I think the interaction. If you think about the next generation, they're going to be brought up on these prompt boxes. So it's kind of inevitable, right? They're not going to come into the business world and go, "Hang on a minute, I could just put in a prompt box over here,
Yeah,
and now
yeah.
I've got to navigate for it." You know, so whatever we think in my generation, you know, that's never going to happen. I think it has to happen. Otherwise, the next generation not going to engage with these platforms.
So
I don't.
that begs a very interesting question though, because the front end can look the same, like a single prompt box. You open up your laptop and it does just go, "Hi Steve, hi Ali, what do you want to do?" And then you're putting these natural language, you know, questions and statements and requests in. But what does the back end look like? I mean, we try and work, and you mentioned ERP as an example. We try and work very closely with an ERP partner. So whenever a prospective customer comes to us, or a customer comes to us and says, "Right, we want Dynamics." Finance and operations, or business central, or whatever that ERP looks like, and we go, "Hang on, no, we as a business, we specialize, we focus our efforts and our knowledge and upskilling in CRM. So that's what we do. But we have a partner, we have a trusted partner that we'll bring in to work on the ERP space, the finance space." Is that the way it's going to go if we've got that front end single interface, or do we need to look after everything? Do we need to continue those relationships?
I think, will there be a table structure behind this prompt? The honest answer is I can't answer that question. I have no idea. To be honest, I would highly doubt not. To be honest, you would commit stuff to memory and tell it what it is. You know, this is a lead for this company, and I guess AI would shape it itself. Forgive me, I'm not an expert on the data structure side of things, but if you think about, one of the biggest complaints with AI is the data entry part, where we're writing into tables. Well, I think AI is going to remove that complaint, because the data is going to be picked up from transcripts from meetings on Teams, for example, and that data is going to automatically feed through into. Do we want to force AI into a structured table? Probably not. Do we want to give it the rules of that table? Yes, we do. You know, these particular things can only be accessed by certain people, but I don't think we would force the structure of the tables that we have currently. But the answer is I don't know, Steve.
No.
Probably one for our tech team rather
Yeah,
than.
we'll get them on the next podcast. So we've spoken, I say, about where perhaps the future of CRM might be. And let's kind of bring it back to the here and now, and something interesting you said, and we find this often, is that one of the biggest derailers of these types of projects, and I don't think it's unique to CRM, is user adoption. And often is the case that we will work with customers, with clients that have come to us with a CRM implementation that hasn't been done well, and therefore hasn't been adopted by the user base, and it's been actually not adopted, been outright neglected and rejected. So it's been a case of back to the drawing board. Most of the time, these scenarios stem from lack of adequate recording of business process. either someone within the internal IT team or a partner or a consultant will listen to the customer and what they want, and they'll go away and build that. The reality is actually, though, as we found out, the devil is in the detail. If we're not understanding why these businesses think they need these particular features, functions, bells, whistles, then ultimately they're being set up for a fall, because when the users come to get to the system, it's just all collapsing. So where do you find we can benefit our customers the most? And the last thing I want to do is kind of turn this into an overt, you know, overview of QGate and what we can do. But why is that recording of business process so important, and the transposing of that to a new system?
I think it comes back to what I was just saying earlier, that there is culture, there is people, there is workflows and processes that all form the success of a technology, right? Um, what I find is when I do a workshop with a client and we start mapping their business on a page, it kind of turns light bulbs in people's heads. They see, because they can see the start of technology, or almost gets pushed aside then, because then they're looking at how their business operates, and all you're doing is just flagging all the pain points they're dealing with day to day. And for me, the workflow, or the process, whatever you want to call it, engaging your people and bringing them on board with that workflow and with the process of doing that, it helps with that natural engagement further down the line. I'm not sure, I've probably lost track of your original question there, but is that?
No, no, and I think when it comes to engaging with these customers, a lot of the time they think, and this is to organizations that don't necessarily have a CRM in place, because and I've mentioned some of the customers that we engage with will have a CRM that doesn't work, the exact ones that I just mentioned. Some of them will have a CRM that's doing a job, but they want to kind of take it to the next level, i.e. get involved in AI or start harnessing the power of AI. But in some scenarios, businesses won't have a CRM. They'll be kind of using different solutions. I spoke to a prospective customer not too long ago. They were using a project management tool as a CRM. They're like, no, we've got to do something about it. So at that point, the importance of actually understanding how they sell is paramount, because otherwise there's a tendency to form your processes, or to really align your processes with what's in the CRM. But that's not how it works. The CRM should be developed to improve what you're doing at the moment, so not forcing you down a particular roadmap.
I've had people that run their sales processes in their heads, the sales process on Excel sheets, right? And quite often they don't even have a sales process. So
That's it.
we help clients. We see a lot of sales process. They're all the same, right? They all have the same stages, sales process. You have an acquisition phase, then you have a qualification phase, then you have a convert phase, then you have a close phase, right? Yes, the detail below all those might be different, but the reality is every business does the same thing, right? They want leads coming in the door. They want to convert those leads into opportunities, those opportunities into an order. It's as simple as that, right?
Absolutely. So if CRM's going to evolve over the next however kind of period of time, do you think we'll even have the term CRM? We talk about that single unified, I won't call it an interface, but that one prompt box where we kind of tell our technology to go away and find something or do something for us. Do you see a future in CRM as it's looked at today?
CRM exists today. If you think about marketing today, right, you need to be talking about what customers are looking for and what they're searching for. If customers are still putting CRM into Google or even AI platforms to understand, to get what they need to, we're still going to be calling it CRM. It's interesting. We were talking about AI this morning, and AI is such a generic term as well. It means so many different things. And we were discussing whether that's going to split out into different naming conventions. Generative AI does one thing.
LM, things like large language models. Yeah.
Yeah, all this terminology. What's going to Will we call it CRM? And especially if CRM blends into ERP and blends into finance platform, CRM term's not going to be relevant anymore, right? It's just not. Will it be around? I highly doubt it, to be honest, but not for quite some time.
Good. Well, as I say, because otherwise we're out of jobs. Because that's again, that's
No,
what
we'll
we
have different jobs.
we'll have. Sorry, yeah, exactly right. We'll be in different jobs. But no, to your point about all the different terminologies within AI, LLM or NLP, natural language processing, generative. I think that catch-all statement of AI, or the catch-all name for AI is a worrying one, for the reason I mentioned earlier on, that when you talk to a business leader at the moment, right now, as of today's date, 90% of CEOs or business leaders don't actually know what they want in AI. They just know that they want it. And we had an RFP, so a tender request, come in recently, and it was this sprawling 65-page document going into so much detail and process around what they've got at the moment and how they'd like the new CRM to look like. And then there was just one line under artificial intelligence. It was the heading artificial intelligence, one bullet point. We would like the latest artificial intelligence utilized within the system. That was it. And we didn't have the ability to talk to the organization that had put this tender request together. So it's like, well, how do you actually satisfy that? AI, as we were just talking about, there's so many different flavors of it and all these different types. What do we need to do actually? And it's a really, I think, a really important question. What do we need to do as a business to be ready for those types of conversations, to be ready for our customers that are using CRM, and they come to us and they go, we want AI. How do we handle that? What do we do there?
I think the first step is to tell them to take a step backwards a little bit. The whole workflow approach helps surface right. So with AI, there's 6 pillars, and we'll go into detail, I think, in the 6 pillars later. But one of the 6 pillars is use case clarity and roadmap. Right? Okay, what do you want AI for? So as a business, what we can do to help is help clients to surface where AI has opportunity to be applied, right? And the way we approach projects now naturally does that, right? When you're mapping a process and all these pain points and wish list items are being flagged by the users as you're going, it's those pain points and wish list items that you'll look to apply the AI technology to, right? We really hate having to write up transcripts or meeting notes from calls we're having with clients. AI already does that, right? That's a pain point that's been resolved. But in different businesses, they'll have very specific pain points to them as a business and what they do. And it's that surfacing that is where we can really add benefits to people. And everyone, has the same approach to this. You have to have something to hang your hat on to say AI is going to help that particular bit there, and this is how it's going to help it. Microsoft do apply Copilot, right, which helps to general AI support. So, that client you were referring to, naturally you would have Copilot in it, right? So you would have that, but it's not specific to their business. It's just the latest technology in AI running alongside CRM. It can be taken so much further, right? It can be taken into the world of solving individual pain points for clients.
So, um, and actually, it was a meeting that you were part of, but you and I recently went to go and see a customer about a CRM implementation that was due to finish at that point, as now finished, and we broached the subject of what's next, where do we take this, and I think it's almost expected for us to start muttering those 2 letters AI and say, right, now you've got your CRM in place, because at the moment we focus on what's tried, tested, and what we have delivered and have great experience in, and that's the CRM element: sales, marketing, the customer service. So what we're trying, and we always aim to do, is a kind of phased, iterative approach. And I think once we've got the CRM piece rolled out and working how it should be, and again, to the user adoption point, making sure it's doing absolutely everything that it needs to be doing, then AI, I think, comes to the fore. Now, we had this conversation with the customer, and I think it was just a single phrase, perhaps from yourself, was like, right now you need to start thinking about AI. And immediately the owner of the business went, well, hang on, we don't want anyone to lose their jobs here. And that for me was quite a striking comment. And it was actually, it was almost a hesitation that because AI is so prominent today, there's almost a fear of it that it's going to take our jobs, and these day-to-day tasks, or even work tasks that people undertake can be replaced with AI. So in some in examples, I think there are businesses out there that are almost fearful of it and don't want to bring it in for just one of those reasons. So there's an education piece, absolutely, for the reasons you just say, but I think it's also to enable these business to understand that it's there to help and assist. That's not to say there might be some tasks that it can entirely replace, but it's there to help us. And again, not to labor the Microsoft point, um, the AI space that they're going into now is something called AI agents. So there are various AI agents that perform particular tasks for you, and eventually we will be AI bosses. So we will have teams of these AI agents going away to do things. And in my role as business development and sales, I'm using the researcher app prior to going in to discovery calls, and it gives me a 30-40 page report just by a single prompt of saying, look, tell me about this business, I've got a meeting to discuss X. And it will tell me all about their challenges, their partnerships, their the times they've been cited in press releases and all this great stuff. So I can go in there very, very knowledgeably. I do all that stuff anyway, but it might have taken me a day to go and do that, and I might have to, even pay for some of this information to get hold of. But actually, now in 15 minutes, it's churned this out. So I think the point is education to businesses now is the most important thing. It's demystifying it and helping them understand how we can use it to help them.
Yeah, I think completely right. It's turning it into a tangible return for them, so where they can actually visualize what it's going to do for them. Even us, right? We're going on a journey ourselves. And where can we put AI that's really going to add value? And one thing you should never do with AI is look at it as a cost exercise, right? Because if you think you're going to bring in AI agents and they're going to replace people, at this point in time, your business is probably not going to be around, particularly if you start replacing things you're well known for, whether that's great customer service, right? Or whether it's the way you sell. The way we sell, that's really important to us because we have to win the hearts and minds of our clients. If would an AI be able to do that? Probably not. You're selling to a human, right? You need that emotional connection to get the client over the line with us. So, for me, AI is not going to replace people, not in the short term. Maybe in the longer term, I don't know, Terminator type thing.
No,
Um,
don't
but
say the Terminator. Like, don't say Skynet. But interestingly, it's something that's very topical at the moment, and this is something that I know we're going to talk about in more detail in later episodes. But our AI statement, which we were talking about earlier this week, uh, actually a line in there says we will not use AI to replace the work of our developers, and that's a line, that I think, emphasizes exactly what you're talking about. And it's important to us. It's making sure that the delivery of our services are, say, handheld, but quality checked, and there's always that little caveat at the bottom of anything AI generated. This is AI generated. Check your results may not be accurate, kind of thing. So at least for the time being, I think you're right. Um, we have to use it as a tool rather than use it as an employee, I think.
yeah, we're not going to use it to replace our salespeople either, Steve. So
Good.
uh,
This is it. I'm saying
you should have
if
that
you've
in.
got that, please don't. No, good stuff. Okay, so I think that about wraps it up for today. this is been the first of hopefully many, and certainly a good few that we've got lined up to talk about various things around AI, CRM, technology, business transformation in general. So, I think, Ali, did you want to close out?
There's a couple of things, just like some reflections that might be helpful, right? So, firstly, stop thinking of CRM as software. Think of it as an operating system. And when I say operating system, I don't mean Windows. I mean a business operating system with your people, your process, your technology. CRM isn't a project; it's a culture shift. Um, if your CRM isn't driving better conversations, better decisions, better outcomes, it's just admin. Don't chase features, chase outcomes. So look for your ROI and your value. That's what you're looking for. Make CRM invisible as far as possible. Make the best systems melt into your workflow. If your team sees CRM as extra work, then you've missed the point of a CRM. Invest as much in process and people as you do in your licenses. CRM ROI is mostly human and not technical. And think of CRM as a conversion engine with your customers and your team, and now your AI, not as a database. So from my perspective, I just want to say thanks for joining us on QInsight. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Next time, we'll be joined by Luke Williams, Head of AI at Intergage, who will be talking about the role of AI, ethics, and differentiating hype from reality.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, on that note, to learn more about how QGate helps businesses grow through CRM, AI, and pretty much everything we've just spoken about, feel free to visit qgate.co.uk. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next time.